He claimed he could hear Morse code in the rattle of train wheels and see invention in the flicker of a gas lamp. Most children start life with a handful of daydreams. Thomas Edison began with a fire, literally. At the age of 12, he set up a makeshift chemistry lab in a baggage car on the Grand Trunk Railway. A bottle tipped, a spark flared, and suddenly the train filled with smoke. The conductor threw Edison and his precious experiments off at the next stop. Edison dusted himself off, rescued what he could, and started planning his next experiment before the smoke had even cleared. It was the earliest glimpse of a pattern that would define his entire life: disaster, determination, and an almost stubborn refusal to give up on an idea. Edison's childhood was a strange mix of misfortune and opportunity. He was nearly deaf by early adulthood, a condition often blamed on that furious conductor who boxed his ears after the train fire. Edison himself later gave a different account, involving a bout of scarlet fever. Regardless of the cause, the hearing loss changed him. He learned to read lips, to observe faces, to study people with unnatural focus. Some biographers think his deafness gave him the gift of deep concentration, shutting out the noise of the world so he could hear the faint whisper of ideas. What he lacked in conventional schooling, he had only a few months of formal education, he made up for in self-teaching. His mother, a former teacher, recognized early that young Tom was wired differently. Rather than force him into classrooms where he felt trapped, she fed him books, science texts, histories, novels. Edison devoured them. Later, when asked about his education, he said simply, "My mother was the making of me." By his teens, Edison was already a working entrepreneur. He sold newspapers and candy on trains, printed his own little newspaper using a press he installed in the baggage car, likely the only publication in history produced on a moving train, and used the earnings to buy chemicals and equipment. It wasn't long before he began tinkering with telegraph systems. The telegraph was the internet of its day, carrying information faster than anything the world had ever known. And Edison mastered it as if born with wires in his hands. His first big break came not from an invention, but from heroism. When he was 15, he saved a 3-year-old boy from being struck by a runaway train. The child's grateful father, a station master, taught Edison telegraphy as thanks. Within a year, Edison was working as a telegraph operator, sending messages at speeds that astonished his supervisor. But he didn't want to just operate telegraphs. He wanted to improve them. That desire pushed him into his first major invention, the automatic telegraph repeater, a device that allowed operators to record messages and play them back. Useful for overnight work, when officers were understaffed. He soon realized, though, that inventing thrilled him more than holding a job. So he quit, deciding he would earn a living with his mind and his tools alone. It was a risky move. Inventions do not always sell, and in Edison's early years, most did not. He was broke more often than not, but he kept at it. His first major financial success came from solving a problem no one else could crack: the vote counter. Congress wanted a way to tally votes in seconds, not hours. Edison delivered an electric machine that could record choices instantly. He was proud, until lawmakers rejected it, saying speed was the last thing they wanted. They needed time to persuade, negotiate, stall. Edison walked out of the meeting stunned. He later said that this failure taught him the most important lesson of his career: never invent anything that people don't want. It was this mindset that led him to Menlo Park, the legendary research laboratory he built in New Jersey. Here, Edison created something the world had never seen: a factory of ideas. He gathered machinists, chemists, mathematicians, glassblowers, and thinkers of every stripe under one roof. Their mission was simple: investigate anything that looked promising. Menlo Park became known as the invention capital of the world. Some nights, the lab glowed with lantern light until dawn. At any hour, one might find Edison asleep on a workbench, only to wake suddenly and suggest a new design with the enthusiasm of a child proposing a treasure hunt. It was at Menlo Park that Edison and his team produced the invention that made him a global name: the phonograph. The device seemed like magic. It could capture the human voice and play it back. Early demonstrations left audiences speechless. Some thought it a trick. Others said Edison had stolen sound from the air. A few, with a mix of awe and fear, whispered that he had found a way to trap ghosts. Edison, amused, called it his favorite invention. But it was the electric light that would shape his legacy. Contrary to popular belief, Edison did not invent the first light bulb. Dozens of inventors had built prototypes before him. What Edison did was make a practical, long-lasting, commercially viable bulb, and more importantly, the entire system needed to power it. He understood that a light bulb without a power grid was useless, so he built the first electrical utility, a web of generators, wires, meters, and switches that brought light to homes and streets for the first time in human history. Perfecting the light bulb was a marathon. Edison and his team reportedly tested over 1,000 filament materials: cotton, bamboo, even bits of beard hair, before discovering that carbonized bamboo could glow for over 1/200 hours. People joked about his stubbornness, but Edison simply replied, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." The statement wasn't arrogance, it was a philosophy. For Edison, failure was neither embarrassing nor discouraging. It was data. But the path to electric lighting was not without conflict. Enter Nikola Tesla, a brilliant outsider with an imagination as wild as Edison's, but a temperament very different. The clash between them, sometimes exaggerated in popular retellings, became known as the War of Currents. Tesla championed AC, alternating current, which could travel long distances efficiently. Edison promoted DC, direct current, which he believed safer and more stable. Their rivalry grew heated. Edison's company even staged dramatic and ethically questionable demonstrations to show the dangers of AC, including public electrocutions of animals. In the end, AC won the technological battle, but Edison remained a towering figure. Many of his strongest achievements came not from his electricity empire, but from inventions in audio recording, motion pictures, and industrial production. One of his most overlooked contributions was his work on storage batteries. These batteries eventually found use in early electric cars, submarines, and even railroad signaling systems. Edison believed the future would run on portable electrical power, a prediction that sounds almost prophetic today. Despite his fame, Edison was far from perfect. He could be stubborn, controlling, and fiercely competitive. His work consumed him. He often slept only a few hours a night, sometimes collapsing mid-experiment. His first wife, Mary, once joked that she was a widow to the laboratory, and it wasn't entirely humor. Yet those who knew Edison personally described him as warm, curious, and unexpectedly gentle. especially with children. He loved telling stories and had a mischievous sense of humor. Once, when asked to define genius, he quipped, "Genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration," a line that critics insisted described him perfectly. In his later years, Edison softened. He became a friend to Henry Ford, who idolized him. The two men spent long evenings discussing the future, mass production, renewable energy, innovations yet to be imagined. Edison also grew sentimental about his early days. He revisited the telegraph offices where he had once worked, reminiscing about the nights he spent tapping out messages under oil lamps. When Edison died in 1931, the nation dimmed its lights in his honor. For one quiet minute, cities from New York to San Francisco paused, and the world he had helped illuminate gave him a final farewell in darkness. The story of Thomas Edison is not just a tale of inventions, it's a portrait of relentless curiosity, of a man who saw potential where others saw problems. He was flawed, brilliant, exhausting, extraordinary. He once said that the greatest pleasure in life was the thrill of creativity, the moment when a new idea flickers into existence like a small flame. Edison spent his life chasing that flame, and in the process, he lit up the world.